In 2051, humans stopped dying by turning themselves into the stone. Scientists created a serum that replaces soft tissue with mineral. Once the transformation begins, you stop aging. No decay, no movement. Inside, you're still alive.
Today we're looking at TikToks that will make you believe in the unexplained.
So Putin, I said, if you go in to Ukraine, we're going to bomb the shit out of Moscow. I'm telling you, I have no choice. The public wants it. The public. The public. So he goes like, I don't believe you. I said, he said no way, and I said way.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you to the channel members for support. If you guys haven't liked the video already, let's try to get to like 3,000 likes this video. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Let's go.
So yesterday I made a video talking about how the metaverse might combine with Elon Musk's Neuralink technology to create a virtual reality world that you can actually physically enter. And a lot of you have noticed that this sounds very similar to what's in our media. For example, Sword Art Online, where the character is able to use nerve gear to go inside of a game virtually. Now, as fun as it will be to feel like you are physically inside of any virtual world or game, if this technology gets into the wrong hands, it can lead to a very dark road for humanity. For example, in the show Black Mirror, authorities were able to manipulate someone's vision and sound so that they would not be able to communicate with anyone, representing that he was a recently released criminal. In that same episode, authorities also showed that they had the capability to make a prisoner feel like he was serving 1,000 years per minute while they went on Christmas break. If you think this all sounds like nonsense or is simply impossible, I want to go back to an article posted in 2014 that talks about how prisoners could serve 1,000-year sentence in only 8.5 hours in the near future. With this same technology, it could also be a benefit to billionaires like Jeff Bezos who want to be immortal, where they could just upload their mind into any paradise and live there for 100,000 years, possibly eons. This technology is probably a lot closer than we think, especially with tech giants like Bill Gates saying that within the next 2 or 3 years, we'll be having office meetings inside the metaverse. What do you think about all this? I got a video of Elon Musk talking about virtual reality. I'm gonna play the clip. Let me know in the comments.
And so we'll have both, virtual reality, augmented reality. If you assume any rate of improvement at all, then the games will become indistinguishable from reality.
We actually took a look at some metaverse TikToks in this video right here. I'm gonna tag it. If you guys don't know what the metaverse is, it's pretty much Mark Zuckerberg's little like real world simulation. It's one of the craziest things in a while. So after this video, go watch that video and you're gonna be like, that's crazy.
Surgeons believed babies didn't feel pain, so they used to cut open babies without giving them anything for the pain. No anesthesia, just a drug to paralyze their tiny bodies so they couldn't move, even if they were screaming. Heart surgeries, amputations, even brain operations, all done while the baby was fully awake. Some cried until they passed out. Others went silent, not because it didn't hurt, but because they physically couldn't scream anymore. And this wasn't rare, it was standard. Doctors didn't admit babies could feel pain until mid-1980s, meaning just over 40 years ago. They felt everything.
Damn, I wonder if they used to circumcise babies with no anesthesia or anything. They're just like, snip, snip, gone. That's a little bit traumatizing if you ask me.
Breaking space news, 2 days ago, astronomers confirmed that an interstellar object has entered our solar system, came from somewhere else, traveled through space, and it's here now. This is only the third interstellar object ever identified in our solar system. First was Oumuamua, and we still don't know much about this one. Then an interstellar comet passed in 2019. Okay, and then an object hit Earth in 2014 that could have been interstellar, but we didn't confirm it, so this might be the fourth. Here it is. It's most likely a comet because it does seem to have a little tail like comets do, and this will probably change, but right now they think it's about 12 miles in diameter and about 420 million miles away from us. But it is coming closer, and it's going to reach its closest point in October, and it's going to be about twice the distance from the sun as we are. It will get much closer to Mars, and it will be moving about 42 miles per second. This is by far the fastest interstellar object we've ever seen. Hopefully, as it gets closer, we'll be able to learn more about it and what stuff outside of our solar system is like.
You feel like having your mind blown? If not, favorite this video, come back later. But if so, we're about to talk about something wild. What if I told you that everything you see, touch, and experience isn't actually real? At least, not in the way that you think. Scientists believe reality might be more like a hallucination, something your brain creates, and quantum physics might actually back this up. So, your brain isn't just seeing the world, it's actually predicting it. Neuroscience shows that what you experience isn't raw reality, but it's your brain's best guess based on electrical signals and past experiences. So, in other words, what you call reality is just your mind's version of it. And here's where it gets even weirder. Quantum physics suggests that reality doesn't actually exist in a fixed state until we observe it. There's a famous experiment called the double slit experiment. It proves that particles act like waves until we look at it. And the second we observe them, they choose a definite form. So what's that mean? Well, the act of looking might literally be...
To Putin, I said, if you go in to Ukraine, we're going to bomb the shit out of Moscow. I'm telling you, I have no choice. The public wants it. The public. So he goes like, I don't believe you. He said, no way. And I said, way. And then he goes like, I don't believe you. But the truth is, he believed me 10%. And I told you this, he believed me 10%. Then I'm with President Xi of China, but I said the same thing to them. I said, you know, if you go into Taiwan, I'm going to bomb the shit out of Beijing. He thought I was crazy. He said, Beijing, you're going to bomb Beijing. I said, I have no choice. I got to bomb them. We're going to bomb Beijing. And he didn't believe me either, except 10%. And 10% is all you need. In fact, 5% would have been okay too. And we never had a problem. We would have never had a problem.
That's wild. Yo, he said, we're gonna bomb Moscow. The public wants it. I could definitely say for the public, we do not want Trump to bomb Moscow at all. We 100% do not want that. Another funny thing he said was like, when Putin said no way and he said away. Yo, this dude's a comedian, dude. Like, we really have like a comedian, an entertainer as a president. Like, that doesn't even seem real.
In 2051, humans stopped dying by turning themselves into the stone. Scientists created a serum that replaces soft tissue with mineral. Once the transformation begins, you stop aging. No decay, no movement. Inside, you're still alive, conscious, just frozen in absolute stillness. The body lasts for centuries, but the mind is trapped in silence.
Horrifying facts you haven't knew.
In hospitals, the people with red tag means they are dead. So if you see a patient with the red tag, just run. If you can't sleep at night, it means that someone is thinking about you or watching you. In France, you can legally marry a dead person. Ghosts are attracted to laugh, so the more you laugh, the more you attract them. If you type 6666, then it will turn on TikTok dark mode. Birthmarks are where you have been killed in your past life. If you sleep with the same stuffed animals for 5 or more years, it can be possessed by your soul when you die. Japan has the highest suicide rate in the entire world. Don't sleep in a straight position for a long time, because sleeping in a straight position can cause sleep paralysis and can end your comfort.
Okay, I've just got off the phone with Ethan Guo, the 19-year-old pilot that's been detained in Antarctica, and it's not looking good. Firstly, for anyone that doesn't know, Ethan is trying to raise $1 million for cancer research by becoming the first person ever to fly to all 7 continents solo. He's been traveling for over 360 days and only has one continent left, the one that he's currently detained on. Antarctica. And if you're thinking, detained by who? No one owns it. Well, that's where things get tricky, because on the 28th of June, he took off from Chile heading to Argentina when he says the weather conditions got so bad he had to declare an emergency and divert to land at Tennant Marsh, which is a public airfield in Antarctica. And when he did, everything seemed okay. He was met by a fire response team, and after a bit of a conversation and an hour later, they said he was clear to take off again, but he should file a new flight plan with the control tower. However, before he could, another group of people, this time in black clothing, approached him and said he was under arrest. He would only later find out that this was the Chilean Navy. After arresting Ethan, they searched his plane, moved it into a hangar, and then later that night, they took his phone, they strip searched him, and then placed him in a room under guard supervision and did not allow him to contact the consulate or use Wi-Fi. Now, here is where things get crazy, because Chile has been trying to claim this part of Antarctica since 1940, about a year after World War II broke out. But under the Antarctic Treaty, which they also also signed in 1961. No country can claim sovereignty over Antarctica. So that begs the question, what legal basis do they have to apply Chilean law to a non-citizen outside of Chile? And that's not to mention that Ethan declared an emergency to land, which in the aviation world typically grants you immunity from laws and repercussions pending an investigation. From their perspective, they are saying that Ethan lied about the emergency, saying that his social media posts about his goal trying to land on all 7 continents suggests evidence for intent rather than a real emergency. And now things have got real bad. He said that they've now placed a 90-day travel ban on him from leaving Chile while they investigate. Problem is though, he's not in Chile and he can't even get there because he says that they won't allow him to fly the plane and there's no boats or planes to get back there for months. He says he can't even leave the Navy barracks without someone having to go with him. So he's now stuck in Antarctica in peak winter, hoping that his legal team can somehow get him out. But at least he's got his phone back now, so I'll keep speaking with him and keep you guys updated as we know more.
Let me tell y'all a true story. Be simple and watch this video to the end. They at Home Depot. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Let's go. Come on, man! Are you kidding me? He was only trying to buy plywood. Shut up! It's not a game on you guys. They at Home Depot. Be careful. You think it's a game? Shut up! Guess what? You think you're gonna build a house in peace? They know that they be at Home Depot, picking up material, getting things ready, you know, to start their day. Stop playing with me, son. This video is for entertainment purposes only. I don't know what was going on there. To me, that looked like a skit because that guy was running real slow and the other guy already outran him. Shut up! Be careful, guys. I suggest that you go to... Stop playing with me, son. It's not a game on here, guys, and you know what time it is. Shut up! Now, I don't know what's going on at Lowe's, but I know at Home Depot. You gotta be careful, guys. All right? You gotta stay in the car and you gotta send somebody out there that's supposed to be out here. Stop playing with me, son. It's not a game on here, guys, and you know what time it is. But I'll tell you one thing. If I'm ever at the Home Depot and I see somebody run by me and that other person run by me, I'm out of here too. You never know. I could be next.
Fun fact, one of my first ever jobs was at Home Depot. And honestly, it was probably a really good job. Like, everyone there was so good vibes. Like, no one was ever like mad or anything. Like, Home Depot, if you're over 18, definitely one of the best places to work.
Just happened at the Bronx Zoo in New York. Breaking news. Look at this. A child fell into the gorilla's pen. He just gave it back to his mother.
Yo, that video has to be AI, because why would a gorilla fence be that small? Like, do you see the height difference? I was like, nah, that's gotta be fake.
Movie theater layouts don't make sense. You see a medium-sized building from the outside, but somehow inside there are 17, 18, sometimes even 24 full-sized auditoriums. It feels normal until you really think about it. You walk in, there's a lobby, popcorn machines, a few hallways, but once you enter your assigned room, it stretches back farther than the entire building should allow. And it's not just yours. Every other room is that size too. Multiply that by 20 plus screens, and the math breaks. Some theaters are stacked vertically. You enter on the 3rd floor of a mall, but then go up 2 more levels just to find your seat. Somehow, you're above the roof. Are you in the air, hanging over the food court? Theater buildings often look like normal rectangles, but inside the halls twist. You take 6 turns to reach Theater 12. Then Theater 13 is behind you?
Top 10 genetic traits you get from your dad. Number 10 is hairline and baldness, so I really hope your daddy ain't Mr. Clean. Number 9, tooth shape and size. If your daddy got a big tooth, you got one too. Number 8, eye color, particularly hazel and brown, can be very dominant from the father. If he carries the hazel brown gene, there's a chance you will too. Number 7, behavioral traits. This includes your aggressiveness, so angry daddies. Number 6, handedness, which is a really weird word. That means right or left-handed or ambidextrous or hands tied behind your back. Number 5, voice pitch. If your daddy got a deep voice, you got one too, which is why you know that Hollywood is phony, because if Darth Vader, the deepest voiced thing on the world, could produce motherfucking Luke Skywalker with that little girly voice, it ain't working. Something wrong there. Number 4, facial hair growth, your beard. Number 3, limb proportions. I hope your limbs are proportionate. Number 2, cognitive abilities. This includes spatial awareness. If you like this list and want more about other nonsense, follow me. Leave me a comment with something you got from your dad. Also follow my wife Samantha, who I've tagged. Check out our podcast, Brutally Honest with Sam and Jacob, wherever you get your podcasts. Number 1 is your nose.
Dude, I've been told my whole life that you get male pattern baldness or baldness from your mom's side, from the X chromosome. So that one kind of threw me off. I'm like, dude, I've been told my whole life that you get baldness from your mom. If you guys know, confirm it in the comments, because I'm pretty sure it comes from the mom's side, not the dad's side.
So how did Robert Downey Jr. go from broke and homeless into one of the biggest movie stars in the world? Now, Robert is a kid when this story starts, and he's around 5 years old, living mostly in New York, and his dad is in the movie industry making small independent movies. And instead of getting a babysitter, his dad will just put him in his movies. And one day in 1971, something pretty messed up happens that's gonna change his life forever. His dad gives him a little Zaza at 6 years old. And since his father is an addict himself, mostly Coca-Cola, he always has drugs and alcohol around. And over the years, he starts giving them to Robert regularly. And so Robert has been doing drugs for literally as long as he can remember being alive. And by the 80s, he's a teenager going into his early 20s. He's now addicted to Coca-Cola himself. But despite all that, he's grown up to be very talented at acting and performing. And he starts acting in movies that aren't his dad's. And he becomes an SNL cast member for about a year. He's in a bunch of stuff. But one day in 1992, he plays Charlie Chaplin in the Charlie Chaplin biopic. And suddenly, boom, Robert's career explodes. And he even gets nominated for an Oscar. And he becomes this big celebrity now. And it looks like nothing can bring him down. Until the mid-90s, when Robert's around 30 years old, he screws it all up. Because alongside the drugs he's already addicted to, he starts using heroin and crack, and his addiction spirals out of control. Then, in 1996, he's driving around Los Angeles super high, and police pull him over. And when they approach his car and open the car door, they see Robert inside, naked and hallucinating. And Robert's freaking out, and he's like, there's rats everywhere! And the officers see him throwing imaginary rats out the window. But for some reason, they don't arrest him. So I guess they just give him a warning and let him drive home naked. I don't know. Then, that same year, police pull him over again. This time, they find all kinds of drugs and a Magnum pistol on him. And so, bam, they arrest him. And a few weeks later, while out on bail, Robert's wandering around his neighborhood and he walks home and he walks inside his house. But he's so high on drugs that he actually doesn't walk into his house. He's walked into his neighbor's home 17 houses down the street. And his neighbors are there chilling, a mom, a dad, and a couple of kids, but they don't see him at first as he wanders inside and makes his way up their spiral staircase. And there, Robert finds a bedroom, and he takes off his pants and strips down to his boxers and t-shirt, and he gets into bed, and he passes out and starts snoring. Then the mom walks by and she sees someone sleeping in her child's bed, which she assumes is her own kid. And so she comes in and she's like, "Sweetie, why are you in bed so early?" And she pulls back the covers and sees that it's a strange grown-ass man sleeping in her kid's bed. And then, of course, she freaks out and calls the police. And so, bam, he's arrested again. Here's a picture of him in court. And he's a known movie star at this point, so this news story blows the fuck up, and it makes Robert into a punchline. All the late night shows are making fun of him. I mean, people can't believe he went from Oscar nominee to a train wreck so quickly, and the acting career that he had been working so hard to build suddenly starts falling apart. And for the next few years, he keeps struggling. And at one point, his good friend, actor Sean Penn, is so worried about his friend Robert that he shows up to Robert's house and bam, he kicks the front door down. And he's like, that's it, you're going to rehab. And he puts Robert on a private plane to a rehab center where he has to stay sober for a while. However, a few days later, Robert escapes through a window and he hitchhikes to the airport where he calls his agent to buy him a plane ticket to fly back. And once he's on the plane, he immediately starts drinking on the flight. Then, in 1999, Robert misses a court-ordered drug test, and so, bam, he's arrested again. Here's his mugshot. And he goes to court and he basically tells the judge that he knows he's risking his life, but he can't seem to stop himself. And he gets sentenced to 3 years in prison. A year later, he gets out. So he gets out a little early. But now he's struggling. Like, he can't get an acting gig because Hollywood movies need insurance, and the insurance companies won't cover him because he's too big of a risk. They think he'll stop showing up to work and it'll affect the production and cost the studio millions of dollars. And so he can't get work, and he's not making any money. He's in a lot of debt with legal bills. He loses his car, he loses his house, he loses everything. And that is when Robert Downey Jr. becomes nearly bankrupt and homeless, mostly crashing on friends' couches. But then, in 2003, something unexpected happens. He actually gets an acting role in a movie called Gothica. But, he has to give up his salary to cover the extra cost of the insurance, but he gets the role. And on that set is when he meets this woman, Susan. Susan is a producer working on the movie. And Robert sees her and he thinks she is fine. And she thinks he is fine. And they start dating and they fall in love and eventually they get married. But it's not long into their relationship before Susan has to put her foot down and tell him, it's me or the drugs, choose one. And Robert, he doesn't want to lose her, so he starts taking his sobriety super seriously. Like, he gets help, he gets into 12-step programs and long-term therapy, and it's really hard for him, but he does it. And now, at 38 years old, for the first time since he was a kid, Robert is finally clean. This is great for him. Here's the thing, though. Robert is sober now, but he was such a mess for such a long time that he still has a hard time getting people to believe in him, including movie studios, because to them, he is still unemployable. However, not everyone has written him completely off. This guy still believes in him. Actor, director, producer, John Favreau. And in 2006, John just happens to be casting for a new movie he's directing called Iron Man. And when John sees Robert audition on camera, he's like, that's our guy. That is Tony Stark. However, the suits at the studio are like, no way, bro. They don't want to take the risk on Robert Downey Jr., the drug addict, the loose cannon. I mean, the entire future of Marvel Studios is riding on the success of this Iron Man movie. This is a $140 million production. What if he relapses? It could tank the whole MCU that they have planned. And so they tell John, bro, we can't risk the entire future of Marvel Studios on an addict. But John, he's not gonna let it go. He believes in Robert completely. And so he keeps working to convince the studio heads that Robert is their guy. He is Tony Stark. Only he can play this role. And to prove that Robert is dedicated to this job, he agrees to take only a tiny paycheck for it, a fraction of what he should make. And then they agree. And so, boom, he gets cast as Tony Stark in Iron Man.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
And you know the rest. In 2008, the movie premieres, and boom, it blows the hell up, earning $500 million at the box office. And it's the start of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which becomes the highest grossing movie franchise of all time, making the decision to cast Robert Downey Jr. one of the greatest and most lucrative casting decisions in movie history.
Dude, that is actually remarkable. It's crazy how, like, a woman, you know what I'm saying, his girlfriend slash fiance slash wife was the one that actually got him to stop. Hey, you know what I'm saying, maybe that proves that every man does need a good woman in his corner. And by the way, Iron Man is my favorite Avenger. Let me know your guys' favorite Avenger down in the comments.
What are the face peelers?
Back in 2023, there was a series of videos that went viral, and these videos were captured in the Peruvian Amazon. Chaotic scene in which the villagers were running around screaming, saying, "We're being assaulted by aliens," and they were using the term pela cara, which is face peeler. I had to go down there to investigate a particular incident, which was the attempted abduction of a 15-year-old girl. And she told me one evening she was in her backyard and she bent over to pick up the fruit. She felt a wind at her back and she looked up to see what was generating this wind, and she saw this person dressed in black body armor flying on a disc, and then he landed next to her and he grabbed her from behind. He put his hand over her mouth. Another one lands in front of her and he grabs her legs. They took out a long tube and this had a cream in it, and the guy that was holding her mouth from behind, he started to smear this cream all over her face. And as he was doing it, the guy in front said, be careful, don't put too much on because you're gonna ruin the flesh. After they apply this stuff to her face, they take out a laser scalpel and they begin to make an incision under her jawline. And she starts to struggle. And as they're beginning to cut, she starts to freak out and she gets her hand underneath the helmet of the guy behind her and she starts to lift up on the helmet. He gets agitated, he freaks out a little bit, and they drop her. She lets out a blood-curdling scream. Her brother and a group of other villagers come running instantly. And Talia, before she passed out, she said that the assailants said, let's go, we gotta get out of here. And then one of them said, no, we can't just leave her here.
It's official. Akon City, Africa's promised real-life Wakanda, has just been abandoned permanently. This is what it was supposed to look like next year, and this is what it looks like today. So what the hell went so wrong?
People sometimes will write articles about something like this could never happen in Africa. It's been 2 years, the construction hasn't started. I hear that all the time. We're building a city. You don't build a city in 24 hours.
Turns out, a city can't be built in 7 years either. Because rewind back to 2018, rapper Akon announced that he was going to build a $6 billion futuristic city on the Atlantic coast of Senegal, the country where he spent a lot of time growing up. And the plan was revolutionary. It would run on 100% sustainable energy, have cutting-edge smart city infrastructure. Its sole medium of exchange would be a cryptocurrency called Acoin. And most importantly, the city would serve as a symbol for what was actually possible for Africa's future. And Senegal themselves, they were hyped. They even asked the people that were currently living on that land to move, in exchange for a fee, of course, also a fee that still to this day they claim has never been paid. And that's where the first cracks in Akon City begin, because 3 years after its initial announcement, local residents started reporting that aside from a single ceremonial foundation stone, virtually no construction had begun. Now, Akon said it was the pandemic, and look, hey, 2020, it screwed the whole world over. But then came these scam allegations. In 2022, Akon's former business partner asked a New York judge to freeze Akon's assets, and also filed a $4 million lawsuit claiming that Akon City displayed many of the trademark characteristics of a Ponzi scheme and a pyramid scheme. However, despite this, Akon remained positive. He took the nearly $1 million settlement on the chin and kept insisting Akon City is 100,000% moving forward, and the critics are gonna look super stupid when it's built. But the years kept rolling around. By the end of 2023, The Guardian went to Akon City and they found no more than a mere skeleton of one building and some cattle and goats grazing on its overgrown fields. No roads, no housing, solar farms, or towers like he had promised by the end of that year. Then 2024 rolled around, and even Senegal at this point was getting pissed. They gave Akon 2 weeks to begin meaningful construction, or they would start taking away the land. Problem is, crypto went into a bear market and Acoin wasn't doing so well. In fact, today it is down 100%. And that was a big financial pillar, especially to repay investors. So that, coupled with the lack of progress and missed payments, was the final nail in the coffin. Akon once said, "My goal is to try and build something that people deem impossible in Africa." And unfortunately for the entire continent, he proved people right. Because this week they announced the Akon City project no longer exists, and Akon himself will instead work on something more realistic.
Did you know that one of the most respected U.S. Navy officers claimed to have seen something impossible during a flight over Antarctica? In 1947, Admiral Richard Evelyn Bird commanded Operation High Jump, the largest Antarctic expedition in history. 13 ships, 4,700 men, and dozens of aircraft. But on one of his solo flights over the South Pole, Bird broke radio silence. He described flying over vast ice fields. Then suddenly, a valley without snow. Mountains surrounded it. The air grew warm. His instruments went haywire. In his private journal, Never Meant for the Public, he allegedly wrote,
"We saw land beyond the pole, a place not marked on any map."
Shortly after the mission was abruptly ended, Bird returned to the U.S. and testified before Congress, warning,
"The greatest threats may come from the polar regions."
Some say he was silenced. Others say he saw something that changed his understanding of the world forever. But one thing is certain, he flew farther than anyone before him, and may have come back with secrets we were never meant to know.
This is everything we know about the new TikTok app supposedly replacing the current one. So firstly, according to the information, TikTok staff are currently working on a new separate version of the app dubbed M2, which would replace the current version for US users only, and will be available for download in the App Store on the 5th of September. Once available, it would likely need to be renamed or look slightly different, as both apps will exist simultaneously all the way until March 2026. TikTok M2 would also likely be sold to a group of non-Chinese investors, but still have a minority stake ownership by ByteDance. But the major issue is that knowing how glitchy TikTok is currently, having two separate apps seamlessly trying to be one could be tricky. Would there be a change in the video shown on the For You page, since the divest or ban law requires that ByteDance can't influence the algorithm anymore? Would it be a seamless one-touch transfer, or would some stuff get left behind, like your history, your saved videos, your liked videos, etc.? And the biggest question is, would US TikTok come with the original algorithm made in China? Because they've been holding on to that one, like KSI holding on to his hairline. And if they don't get it, how cooked would they be on a scale of YouTube Shorts to Instagram Reels? I guess we may find out in 2 months. Guys, it's bad. The US M2 TikTok app is looking worse than we thought, because according to a new exclusive report by Reuters, the US version is expected to operate on a separate algorithm and data systems from its global app. They say, and I quote, "The change is expected to impact how 170 million US users access global content and how non-US citizens make money on the platform." They say it's being designed to be functionally independent, similar to how China currently have their own version of TikTok, Douyin. And the source who spoke to Reuters said that the new app is expected to only use data from US users to train its algorithms, meaning as a result, most users will be recommended content generated within the US. And that is massive, because one of the main cool things about TikTok is how global the content feels. They also reported for the first time the frontrunners as to who's gonna own TikTok next, and that includes Blackstone, Andreessen Horowitz, Oracle, ByteDance, and General Atlantic. I mean, let's hope these changes don't ruin the app, but as of right now, it's not looking good.
The top 10 countries you're most likely to die in as a tourist. Number 10 is Colombia. Number 9, Costa Rica. Number 8, El Salvador. Now, important to note that actually tourists are not killed that often in other countries. That's my wife's head back there, if you're wondering what that is. So they're actually pretty safe amongst most of the countries we're allowed to travel to, which is kind of reassuring. Number 7, Jamaica. Number 6, the Dominican Republic. Number 5, Honduras. Number 4, Haiti. Number 3, the Philippines. And there was just a famous story about somebody who was like going to marry some like YouTuber or something, went to go marry a woman there, a random woman, and then he got kidnapped and offed. Number 2 is Afghanistan, which I didn't even know we could go to that country. If you like this list and want more about other nonsense, follow me. Leave me a comment with the country you wouldn't want to go to for fear of. Also follow my wife Samantha's head back there. And check out our brand new podcast, Brutally Honest, with Sam and Jacob, wherever you get your podcasts. We found out today we are in the top 25% of all podcasts, and we only released one episode 4 days ago. So we're so happy for all the amazing feedback, and check it out. It's a lot of fun. Number 1 is Mexico.
Mexico. I feel like I know a lot of people that go to like Cancun and stuff like that. I've never been to Mexico, but I definitely would want to go to Mexico. Jamaica being number 7 on that list. I mean, I could see that, but at the same time, I feel like it's one of those situations where like if you stay where you're supposed to stay, you'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't know the country and then you start adventuring out to like the freaking wilderness or wherever the hell you want to go, and then all of a sudden you're in the back of a truck of some random dude with a machete, like obviously you're gonna get, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you just gotta listen to what people are saying, like what the guides are saying, and just follow through. Like Like, you can see all the cool stuff. You don't need to see all the other things. You know what I'm saying? Like obviously in a second or third world country, like there's gonna be a lot different than the US. Like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people from first world countries come into the first world country mindset in third and second world countries and just be like, oh yeah, I'm from the first world country, so you can't touch me.
Thank you all for watching this here video.